Hello, everyone. This is JT Rock, redshirt sophomore center for the Lobos, and this is episode 125 of the Talking Grammar podcast.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and as you just heard, this is episode 125 of the Talking Grammar podcast. We are sponsored by Sandia Sportsbook. Thank you very much to Sandia Sportsbook for helping us bring you this content, these podcasts, the live shows that we do. I do a pregame basketball show. We do postgame football shows after every Lobo football game during the season. And Sean Ryder and I do a weekly show. This week, the Mountain West Tournament, I don't know if we're going to do a weekly show, but I'm going to be doing all kinds of content out in Las Vegas when I get out there. As I record this on Monday, the Lobos just completed their regular season on Saturday in Logan, and today's guest, JT Rock, was a part of that, and we talked to him today about what the Lobos need to do to kind of get back on track. They've struggled down the home stretch a little bit. They're not alone. They're definitely not alone. A lot of teams on that NCAA bubble and a lot of top teams in the Mountain West have not exactly finished as strongly as they worked their way through January and February. They've not finished the regular season strong. So it's anybody's game in Vegas this week. And Pitt West will be, I'm sure, rocking with a lot of Lobo fans. And JT's about to experience that for the first time, and he looks forward to it. I know the Lobos' safest bet to get into the NCAA tournament is going to be to win 3 games in Las Vegas and win the Mountain West tournament, get the automatic berth. I am telling you, it's not impossible for them to get in otherwise. And part of that is because the NCAA tournament right now, the bubble, all the teams kind of on the fringe trying to play their way in, the last couple teams invited, all that. Nobody is taking a stranglehold of this. It is there's good news and bad news to this. There's national reporters and national media calling this one of the weakest bubbles ever. That's the bad news. That's, say what you will about the bubble, who I guess ultimately really cares, because the good news is that means nobody is pulling away from the Lobos, even as the Lobos aren't performing extremely well right now. So, yeah, they lost 2 games last week, Colorado State and Utah State, and nobody else that's kind of in the same grouping of them, kind of rated in the 40s-ish of Ken Palm, of the net, all that, where the Lobos still are. None of the other teams in that area are really pulling away and putting distance between them and the Lobos. So the Lobos probably still need to win the Mountain West tournament. If they just get to the final and get 2 good wins along the way, that might be enough. But why worry? Why chance it, right? Just get the NCAA tournament, or just get the Mountain West tournament so you know you're in the NCAA tournament, and that's the best way to do it. We do talk to JT about that a little bit in today's episode. Also talked a little bit, and there will be, by the way, when I get out to Vegas, some more content coming about the Mountain West tournament and stuff like that. Today it's really more just talking with JT. But talk a little bit with Mike Roberts, UNM Lobo assistant coach, about JT's progression and where he came from. He's 20 years old in his 3rd year of college, and it's kind of a remarkable story in some respects that he was 17 when he went to a Big 12 school at Iowa State. How he got here, his progression, and the road ahead. Mike Roberts, as you will see, is very, very tough, demanding coach for big men, and has really helped the progression of JT Rock along the way, but also has really high, optimistic expectations for JT Rock. And I think you're going to be interested to hear some of that from Mike Roberts. We talked to both he and JT about that. Let's get started with that scouting report from Mike Roberts, the big man coach, one of the big man coaches, Mike Wilder as well. But one of the big man coaches for the UNM Lobos, Mike Roberts, giving us a scouting report on JT Rock. Here we go. All right, Mike, appreciate you for being on. It's Mike Roberts, assistant coach of the UNM Lobos basketball team. Mike, thanks for coming on, man.
Jeff, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Got a guest today on this episode of the podcast, JT Rock, who is I think a lot of sports fans always pick a backup quarterback or somebody that they want to see more of or something like that as their fan favorite. JT Rock, A, fits that mold a little bit, where I think every fan wants to see more of him, but B, I don't think he's just a backup. Like I think he's a backup because you guys happen to have somebody starting the 5 right now that's tremendously good. I think JT Rock has become a really good player. I'm curious what you think of his, growth potential from this point, and then we'll go back to the beginning and what you thought at the beginning. But what's JT Rock's potential?
I mean, JT has as high of top end potential as anybody on our roster. He's a 20-year-old kid in his 3rd year of college basketball, so he's still really young. There's some areas he has to really improve in if he's going to reach that potential. But there's no question that, a kid that's 7', 7'1", Weideman, who knows how tall he is, he's big enough and he's got an unbelievable skill set. So, I think JT does have elite high end potential. Plus, he's if that fails, he can be the mayor of Albuquerque, right? So that's the main thing, other than the basketball piece.
I love that you guys have visitors come by and want to do, the social media creators or content creators that were there last week, and he just does a little tour of the facilities. And I think one of them talked him into, hey, if you happen to hit a three, which why would anybody who doesn't follow the team closely think the 7-1 guy's going to hit a three? He hits a three that game, and then he did whatever he ended up doing on his head, something weird like that. He did exactly what they wanted. The guy can make you love him, even if it's not about his game, but his game's making people love him too, I think, quite a bit. I want to go to the beginning. You get hired at UNM. I don't remember the progression of your hiring versus his already being committed. But what do you, as a former big man yourself in college basketball, and obviously you've worked closely with JT, what's the starting point when you see a 7-1 guy on the roster? Do you not watch film at first and just try and watch him? Do you just watch him, just watch film and then watch him? Or is it a combination of the two? How do you start with learning what you have in a 7'1" guy on the roster?
Yeah, I think with any new player in the modern world, you watch a little bit of synergy film on him from the previous stop. Obviously his was limited from Iowa State. But then I think the main thing you do is you get in the gym with them, and this is an expedited process because these are all, 10 or 11-month cycles, but then you just get in the gym with them. And I try personally not to have preconceived notions about what that player is based upon their previous stop. And then, you do some basic fundamental things. And from there, you start to evaluate, okay, well, this may be his strengths, right? And the thing that stood out about JT right away is that there's a lot of guys that are just 7 feet, but they're not good athletes. JT's a good athlete, and he's 7 feet. And then he also has tremendous skill and touch. So, those two things really stood out pretty quickly. And then kind of back to your original question, I've learned over the course of time every coach has a different offensive system.
Sure.
So, to say, hey, well, player X did this at the previous stop, and this is what they're going to be for you, especially for a kid that hadn't played a lot of college basketball, was 19 upon showing up. We didn't have really strong preconceived notions. Obviously, we knew the story about him, coming to Iowa State, graduating early. Almost any of us showing up at Iowa State as a 17-year-old would have struggled in that league at that level with what college basketball has become. So I don't think that's any shot at him. Luckily for us, his uncle is an Albuquerque resident. That was a big piece to us being able to recruit him and get him on a visit. But back to your original question, just want to do some basic fundamental stuff, work with him. And it was obvious right away that he had a lot of natural ability and movement patterns that were even better than we expected from the film.
How much for those that don't know, and sometimes on these little scouting reports on the podcast, I ask people, like, what's one thing that nobody knows about him? And it might be that work ethic that you already touched on. But what can you tell us about JT that we wouldn't know from just watching the games and what we get to see in them?
I think you hit on it. I've coached a ton of big guys over the course of my 20 years as a coach now, and there's a lot of guys like JT that they're just 7 feet. They don't necessarily love basketball. Knock on a little wood here. JT's taken one afternoon off in the 10 months we've had him to get rest. So he's got a really high work capacity, and he's eager to get better. You combine that with being a really good athlete for his size, and that's kind of the two things that stand out to me. But the main thing is just his work capacity. Because if you're that big and with some natural ability and you're willing and want to work, which he does, that's kind of why we think the sky's the limit for him. One of the biggest factors for his long-term development is going to be his ability to improve as a defensive rebounder. You guys see the skill. You see the being able to shoot hooks and touch shots with either hand. You see the three-point shooting. You see the ability to roll finish, all things that are really high level and are going to continue to improve. But for him to one day be a starting center at this level, he's going to have to defensive rebound at a higher rate. When we first got him, our whole conversation with him was like, hey, you need to do these three basic things really well, and that'll get you on the court. And then you'll be able to show all of your offensive skill package, which is still developing, right? But back to the original question, work capacity and willingness to get better, that's the thing that really stands out that you wouldn't know just from seeing him on game days.
how willing of a, I guess, competitor in practice, or in games has he been when? I mean, he basically gets here from Iowa State and finds out that, okay, there's a 23-year-old guy who's been playing some pro ball, who's been playing with men, and starts, bullying him probably and beating him up a little bit in practice, and I'm curious how, if you ever saw JT sort of shy away from contact or toughness or anything like that, or has he taken on from the start, the willingness to be a tough big man?
Well, I think this with JT. JT is in no way soft, right? He's not soft. That's the other thing that stood out. He doesn't always understand, and plus part of that's being young, the level of physicality that you have to bring every day. So look, there's no secret about that. I was really on him about that. Us as a staff were on him about that collectively, and he's made strides in that. He still has to continue to make strides on that. I think the other thing too is with all that skill, sometimes I think he would forget that, hey, in most games, he's the biggest and strongest guy, so he needs to use that. That doesn't mean he can't shoot threes. That doesn't mean he can't use his touch. So, and like I said, he just turned 20 years old less than a month ago, right? So I think that's part of the process of any evolving big man. Look, if JT was a finished product, he never would have showed up in New Mexico and he'd be cashing big checks every month. And there's not many. There's 25 guys like that in the world, right? Yep. So for most big guys that we're going to get at any level of Division I, there's going to be a process and an evolution, and he's taking big steps in his physicality. I think another big thing for big guys is it's a big adjustment from high school to college, because in high school, he's one of the best scorers. His coach is probably telling him not to get in foul trouble, right? Not to be physical. He's so much bigger and stronger than the kids in a high school game. It's like they don't want you to be big and physical. Then you get to college, and you got to do that to survive. It's kind of a 180, and a lot of guys go through that adjustment period.
Any similarities to seeing what he's gone through in his just the one season you guys have been together, and anything you went through in your playing days, where he is a guy that probably would want more minutes. He is a guy that's coming off the bench, but has he handled his role well? I mean, from your playing days, do you see anything that you could give him advice wise from when you went from your starting college career to the point where you became a bigger role on the team, or had a bigger role on the team, I should say?
Well, the truth is JT's a lot better than me. He's got a lot better high-end potential than me. But I do think that all we talked about first, because when he got here, he'd never been able to quite get on the court when the game mattered a lot at Iowa State, right? So we talked about that process, and he's embraced that and been able to do that. And then, once you show you're able to do that, then the conversation kind of progresses to, well, one day becoming a starting center in the Mountain West, this is what it looks like. So we've kind of taken that one step at a time. JT's been a great teammate. And I think with all young big guys, as his confidence grows, he starts to see, hey, I can eventually do this. Hey, this is what I could become. We focus kind of more on the day-to-day work. Yeah. But yes, we've had conversations with him about, hey, to become a starting center, you need to do these things. And we think that's in the cards for him one day, no doubt.
Appreciate it, man. Look, I'm going to get to talking with him here shortly. Anything else you want to add or let people know about JT?
The biggest thing with JT is he's just a really good kid.
I think you can't say it enough. The guy's in his third year of college and 20 years old.
Yeah, and he's just very welcoming, right? Like anybody comes into our practice, my son's visiting me, like he loves JT. He's just a very kind-hearted, good person. And so that makes him fun to coach, right? Like you can't dislike him. He pisses me off sometimes, which all players do, but I do love him. I think he's a good kid and very good hearted and a genuinely good person, right? Which is a great thing when you're coaching somebody like that.
All right, man. You guys got some more. You guys got work still to do yourself. I know you got to get to it. Appreciate you for being on, and I'm gonna talk to JT here in a little bit.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your time, man. Take care.
All right. Appreciate Mike for joining us and giving us that scouting report on JT Rock. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. Get a little insight that we might not have otherwise known about JT and about his game and his development, his progression, and his potential. And it's been fun getting to know JT a little bit. It was good listening to Mike kind of explain some of that from the coach's side of things, right? So now let's talk to JT about some of the stuff his coach just said and some of his takes about Albuquerque, how he got here, this team, being on this team, and his thoughts about his role on the team as the crowd work guy. And he does some of that, but also is getting big minutes on the floor as of late and making a pretty big impact. So let's talk to JT Rock, the redshirt sophomore center, 7'1" center for the UNM Lobos. Hope you guys enjoy this conversation. JT, first of all, thanks for being on the show, man. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to hear. It's great to be here. I've heard you had some of my teammates on earlier, so I've listened to those episodes and was looking forward to having my turn.
All right, well, your turn is now. I'm going to start off with the hard-hitting stuff, man. I don't know that you want the world to know this, but when I found out what the JT stands for, I was a little offended that you went with JT and not what the initials stand for. Do you want to tell the world what the J stands for and the T stands for?
Yeah, so JT is my first and middle initial. It stands for Jeffrey Thomas.
And you choose to go with the initials instead of Jeffrey. I mean, what's wrong with Jeffrey? I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful name.
Yeah, it's good. So my parents came up with JT because they didn't want people to call me Jeff, and I've kind of gone with that for most of my life as well. I don't really like being called Jeff.
I'm offended right now. Just so you know, I'm offended. I'm totally offended. All right, I'll live with that.
Well, that way people know who we're talking about. They don't get you and me confused.
I know, and that has happened around town. I've walked around town and they look at me, and I mean, we have a striking resemblance to one another for sure. But yeah, I get mistaken for the 7'1" Lobo center quite a bit. All right, JT, I will not call you Jeff or Jeffrey. I will call you JT. We'll start with sort of where you guys are at right now. Then I want to go back to what got you here, all that kind of stuff. We'll go out of order a little bit, but right now, end of the regular season, still a lot ahead for you guys to accomplish. But if you're kind of telling somebody right now what it was like, your decision to go to New Mexico was what? Like not why you came. Like, was it a success? I mean, was it you wished you got more out of it? Like, was this what you wanted out of your decision to come to New Mexico?
Yeah, I would say this year's been a great experience. We've had a lot of really competitive games, both at the pit and on the road. So I would say it's been a great experience, and I've definitely felt myself develop a lot since being here.
You had some New Mexico ties before, right? And if I'm not mistaken, that at least was a small part, at least, of maybe what opened the door for New Mexico in the beginning in the recruiting?
Yes, so my mom has some family out here. Her uncle and his family have lived out here for better than 30 years now. So they've been around here for a while. And then growing up, I've been out here a couple times to visit, and I always liked coming out here to the Duke City.
Are they in Albuquerque? Are they near Albuquerque? Are they?
Yeah, they're in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. All right, so you knew what you were getting into more than most on the team. Some of them, I know, like Jake, maybe got off his surfboard and showed up to New Mexico and was wondering where the beach was. But you at least knew what you were getting into a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, in Jake's case, there's plenty of beach around here. There's just not a whole lot of ocean.
I did ask him when I had him on earlier in the year, how many on the team does he think could actually surf? Because I know he surfed when he was younger, apparently. I'll ask you, what do you think? You think this Lobo roster could end up surfing? When you guys were out in San Diego, did he take you surfing?
We didn't go to the beach when we made the trip out there, but I think a few of us could get the hang of it pretty well. But then there would be others, probably including myself, that would struggle with that a bit.
All right, what got you here, man? Obviously the connection may have been a little piece of it, but there was more to it. Obviously, we'll take a step back. Before the New Mexico recruiting, out of high school, you were one of the highest ranked players in the country. Obviously, part of that is just size, but there are a lot of tall players that don't get ranked what you were ranked. So there was the skill and recognition of the skill set there too. And you were a top 100 player coming out of high school. You end up going to Iowa State. What was that process like? What made you end up deciding that Iowa State was the place you wanted to go? And what was the recruiting like as a top 100 7-footer?
Yeah, my recruiting out of high school started pretty early. It really picked up in the fall of my sophomore year of high school. So I started taking a lot of visits at that time, and then really it continued all the way up until I made the decision to go to Iowa State in January of my junior year of high school. So it was a really great experience. Got to meet a lot of really great people, see a lot of really nice schools, and learn a lot about really big time programs. So that was definitely a blessing and an experience that not too many people get to have. So I'm very thankful for that.
Curious along the way when we're going on some of these visits and some of these campuses and stuff like that. So why don't you tell people where you're from and what the difference was between where you're from and some of these places, and how big was your high school?
My high school is about 2,000 kids. My graduating class, I think, was about 570.
Okay.
Ballpark that.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily a tiny place or anything like that. It was
No.
Yeah.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota is where I'm from.
Falls.
The population of the area is about 300,000, I think,
Yeah.
last I knew. So that might be up or down a little bit. But the area, to my knowledge, is expanding and has been at a pretty good rate for a while since I was kind of growing up around there.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I'm the oldest of four, so I have two younger brothers, and then my sister is the youngest of us all.
Who's the best athlete in the family?
I would say for now, it's probably me, just because I'm the only one that's like in college for now. But my brother is a sophomore in high school, Ethan, and then Jordan is in 8th grade right now, and then my sister Evie is in 5th grade right now. So I would say for now, I guess I'm kind of the only one that's had the chance to make it this far.
They're catching you. They're catching you.
They're getting up to that age where it's like, hey, now they have opportunity to do the same thing.
Very cool. All right, man. You end up going to Iowa State. You were how old when you arrived on campus at Iowa State?
Yeah, so I made the decision to graduate high school a whole year early. I finished up the couple of classes that I needed to the summer after my junior year, and technically graduated then. So I was still 17 when I first enrolled at Iowa State, and the intention was to go in there that first year and redshirt instead of going to maybe a prep school, high school. Kind of like your IMGs or your other prep schools of the sort, So the idea was to go there and redshirt and learn the system and spend a lot of time in the weight room, really work on my physical strength and attributes in that aspect to be more ready to play what would have initially been my freshman year last year if I had stayed in high school for my senior year.
In hindsight, did your prep year being at a college, as opposed to at a prep school, or more traditional prep school, I suppose, are you happy you did that, or would you have done it differently?
I would say I'm happy I did it because I learned a lot from it. But if I had to do it again, I would probably lean more towards going that prep school route, just so I could play in games that year, because that redshirt year I couldn't play at all, and then it had been once last season picked up in November, it had been 15 months since I had played in a game, so that was kind of a hard stretch of time, but definitely proud of the work that I put in during that time and since then to get where I am now. So I would say that if I had to do it again, I would probably lean more towards the prep school route, or staying in South Dakota to finish out my senior year there. But I would say now that I'm here and now that it's happened, got to roll with it. So
yeah, there's a difference
between that decision.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a difference between like maybe you would do it differently and regret. It doesn't necessarily mean you regret doing it that way, but you might have done it differently had you known, right? But you wouldn't have known.
Yeah. That's what I would say is that I don't necessarily have a lot of regrets with it, but I would say that if I had to do it again, or if I was in that position again, I would probably choose differently.
All right, man. So what gets you to New Mexico then? How did that happen?
So I entered the transfer portal last spring, and Coach Olen and staff kind of took over the job pretty early while I was in the portal, and then they reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, we are interested in you. We like what we see on your film, and your play style fits what we want to do." And so we got on a couple Zoom calls, went over some film that they had from UC San Diego, and then I made my way out here for a visit, and really was impressed with the facilities and the atmosphere around here, and then also felt like the fit stylistically was really good for me.
So when you say they watched your film, there wasn't a ton of film to watch, and I imagine the film that they watched probably didn't showcase you in a way that they probably wanted to use you. So they saw something, obviously, but I'm curious what they saw that made them think, you know what, he's going to fit what we do, because I can't imagine that was entirely what you were doing there.
Yeah, they took a look at some of my game film from Iowa State, maybe, but more so probably my practice film from there. I had some of that cut up, and that was kind of what I was sending out to coaches when I was in the portal. But they said that they took a look at some of my film from my last AAU season, from my 17U summer season. So that was kind of more of my skill set being on more of a display, and then also just more volume as far as like how much film that they had from that versus my game film at Iowa State.
All right, you get to New Mexico. What's the again? You kind of like were familiar. You knew what you're getting into a little bit with Albuquerque and all that. But what was the biggest change that maybe you didn't expect about coming to UNM?
I would just say that kind of the culture of how Albuquerque is around here is different from where I'm from in South Dakota and in the Midwest, and where I've spent most of my time. So I would say it's different, but it's not a bad different. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's to say that Albuquerque and that New Mexico is different from another place is that's sometimes that's, you know, to say the least. That's a factual statement. We're a unique place, that's for sure, and it isn't always for everybody, but it's been good to you though. You've enjoyed your less than a year here so far.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been it was really nice that it only kind of snowed once during the winter.
It really did, man. Like we might get hit with one more before it's over. I don't know, man. It's already March, but
Maybe.
like it really only snowed once for all you guys that are like any of you that came from a cold weather place. You got to be thinking this is great.
Yeah, there was definitely some days where I thought to myself in the middle of December and January, like, man, I'm walking outside in the morning, it's sunny and 75 degrees, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't really happen back where I'm from. But
I imagine you look across like your teammates walking into to practice or into the locker room, or the coaches that are all from San Diego and from California, and they're all bundled up thinking it's miserable because it was like 68 one day or something, and you're showing up in shorts.
right, even some of the days where it was like 50 or 60 degrees out, these guys are showing up sweatpants, a sweatshirt, or a zip up or whatever, and I'm showing up like, hey, I got a hoodie and some shorts on, but maybe it's a little bit chilly, but still kind of warm for me relative to what I'm used to.
Sure.
That's out here.
All right, man. So you're 20 now, right?
That is correct. My birthday was March 1st, and I am now 20 years old.
Happy birthday. So not even just that you're just 20 now, like it's a late in the season kind of birthday. So you are 20 years old. First of all, happy birthday. Did you get anything interesting? What is I don't know what a 20-year-old college basketball player gets for his birthday. Is it anything interesting?
Yeah, probably just more shoes, more sneakers.
More sneakers.
I'm big into the sneaker collecting, and I like to change it up quite a bit of what I wear on the court. But
I don't know how many games you guys are in right now. It's a 20. Is it 30? You guys are about like what, 30 games in?
We've played 31, but if you count the 2 exhibition games we played early in the season, it puts us about 33.
I'm curious then, out of 33 games, how many different pairs of shoes or how many repeat pairs of shoes you wore?
I would have to go back and think about it a bit, but I would probably say that I wore at least 20 different pairs.
Jesus. And what size shoe does a 7'1" center for the Lobo basketball team wear?
I wear a size 15, which I think is kind of small relative to being 7'1", I guess. But you hear about guys that are 6'9" and play in the NBA or something, and they wear size 18 shoes or something like that. And even my dad, like he wears a size 17 or a size 18 mostly, and he's about 6'8". So I guess
he's just 6'8".
right. Right, but so I feel like my feet are kind of a little bit smaller relative to how big I am, but I feel like maybe that's where I have some decent footwork because of that. I'm not just out there flopping around with the clown feet.
How are you in terms of getting those shoes? Like I imagine you have a go-to site or something that you're getting a lot of these. You're not getting a whole lot of these like down at the in some mall in Albuquerque that carry a whole lot of size 15s that you're looking for, I'm guessing.
No, my in-person shopping days were over when I was about 13.
Yeah.
Most of the stores only carry up to a 13 or sometimes a 14. So I do most of my sneaker shopping online.
I imagine it's not just sneaker shopping. I imagine there's not a whole lot of places in Albuquerque or anywhere in New Mexico that have like pants that are going to fit a 7'1" guy. New Mexicans, we're all short people here. We're a short state, so I can't imagine there's a whole lot of 7'1" pairs of pants that you're getting down at the mall.
No, so I don't do a whole lot of online shopping for clothes because we have a good ordering system with the team and what we get from the team gear with Nike.
Yeah, you guys have it made, by the way, with the amount of gear you guys get.
Yeah, the custom ordering or the special ordering with the extra large talls and stuff like that is really helpful for the team issued gear. So I wear that quite often.
All right, I swear we're going to talk some basketball too. It's not just going to be a fashion podcast here. You get here, you take a look at the teammates, you take a look at this roster. It's a new opportunity for you. What was the initial take of this team? Like, what was your initial thought of how good this team can be? And then how close are you guys to reaching that right now?
Yeah, I would say going into the season, I wasn't really sure kind of what our ceiling was. I knew that we had really good positional size on this team, and we had a bunch of dudes that are pretty decent at putting the ball in the basket, right? So I wasn't really sure quite as we got here what our ceiling could be, but as we got partially into the season, into November and December, and then once we got into conference play, I've seen a really high ceiling for this team. We've put some really good basketball on the court this year, and to be honest, I don't think we've been close to putting our best on the floor, but I don't think we've really peaked in that aspect yet. So need to come out focused and ready to go this week in Las Vegas.
What about you personally? From when you started the season here in Albuquerque, or when you got to Albuquerque over the summer to now, let's talk about your progression. We can see that there's been progression, but it is the amount of progression and the type of progression you want, or just what's your take on your progression?
I think that I've progressed a lot, even since being here over the summer. I thought I progressed a pretty good amount, finding really just the fit in the system here with Coach Olen's offense and stuff like that. So even from the frame of the summertime, I thought I saw a lot of progress in that aspect. And then since the seasons got going, I'm just getting more and more comfortable in the repetition, and more and more game time experience has been really helpful in my development.
I would say that there might be two most popular. Might not just be one, because when Jake can hit as many threes as he does, he becomes a pretty popular player pretty quick. But you might be the second most popular player on this team, and I think it has to do with a lot of things. Obviously, like you don't ever seem to be in a bad mood when you're out in front of people. It doesn't mean you don't have those moments, but like you don't ever seem to show it out there. You're signing autographs till the end. And if I talked to somebody on your coaching staff that used the word crowd work, the phrase crowd work, would that surprise you at all? That maybe somebody said that you were very good at the crowd work?
No, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I'd say that there's there's ways that you can impact the game when you're on and off the floor as a teammate, and really just as someone who represents our program. So like making sure I sign all the autographs for all the kids that want to have my autograph and stuff like that is something that I'll always try and make time for, because I remember being a little kid like that and going to these college games and thinking it was just the coolest thing ever to get my favorite player's autograph. So I'll always try and make time to do that. And then as far as getting lost in the moment, some of the environments that we've had at the pit this year were really crazy and really fun to be a part of. So just enjoying that and showing that I want to be bought in.
The crowd work comment also applied to. It was prefaced with like you genuinely enjoy the success of your teammates, and you can't say that about everybody. That doesn't always happen. A lot of college guys are looking out for themselves first and foremost. It was made very clear from the person I spoke with that you genuinely like enjoy the success of your teammates, and that's why you're standing up on the bench sometimes going crazy. When you're on the floor and there's a good play, you're celebrating as much of it as anybody. So your crowd work is post game, in game, pre game. You're working this Lobo crowd all the time, and but you do seem to be enjoying it too.
Definitely. We have a great home environment here, and even on the road, we've had a pretty good turnout of Lobo fans that travel, and I can't wait to be in Vegas this week to see that. Pit West, right?
Pit West. See how many yellow state flags you're going to see. I'm telling you, man, there'll be 100 of them there Thursday night.
Those are the rules.
Those are the rules. Somebody's been doing his homework. I like it.
Yeah, those are the rules. But
you're going to have to remember that. Now that you live here, you're going to have to remember that too. So
definitely.
All right.
But I would say from enjoying the teammate success is something that's important to me, and that's a way to impact the game on and off the court, really celebrating your teammates and their successes, because putting positive energy out there, usually it comes back around. So definitely something that I try to do every time I have the opportunity. And, people enjoy when you get excited for them, and it's nice, I know, to be noticed for making a nice play or something, and maybe not everyone sees it, but when one of my teammates when one of my teammates will make a good play that maybe not everyone would notice, I like to point that out and make sure that they know that they did a good job.
It doesn't hurt as a big man to keep the guards happy too, because they got to get you the ball.
That's right.
All right. You more specific to your game, that not the crowd work, but your game. I think there's a preconceived notion when a lot of people see big 7-footer. They assume he's soft. They assume that he's only out there because he's big. I do think you get underestimated for your skill set, but also your athleticism. Do you feel that? Do you think people overlook that? You have some strength. You have some athleticism. Do you think that it gets overlooked in you?
Maybe a little bit. I'd say that really over time in high school, especially when I was younger and not as physically mature, let's say, that there was a lot of those like, hey, he's just bigger than everyone. Like, but I've always tried to take it seriously and make sure that I hold up my end of the deal, so to speak, with making sure my skill development and my physical development have also been up to that level, or to make sure that it's not like, hey, he's just out there because he's big, or actually being, hey, he's out there because he's making an impact and he's making winning plays.
I am curious. Rebounding is what people assume big men can do. You probably have some growth. Talking to Coach Roberts, he would say that defensive rebounding is where you have some growth potential still. How much progress have you made in the defensive rebounding rate, and how much more progress is there still to make in the defensive rebounding?
Yeah, I would say there's still a long way to go as far as me getting to where I could be with the rebounding and stuff like that. So definitely something to keep working on. But I would say it has progressed a good amount since being here, since getting here in the summer. So always room to improve, but I would say that just something to keep working on, and that I'm you never want to say that you're satisfied, but I would say that for now, I think there's been good progress, but always want to see more.
More minutes is what fans want. I imagine you want more minutes. Players want to play more too. Are you a guy that can be doing 20 plus minutes a game and take that next step, even if it's next season? Are you in the position in your mind and body to be a starting center in the Mountain West?
Yeah, I would say I want to play and be on the floor with my teammates as much as possible. But even if that's not maybe what's working for our team that night, I want to contribute in any way I can. That's kind of where the quote unquote crowd work comes in, or the celebrating my teammates part comes in as well. But I would say in the minutes that I do get, I try to be as impactful as I can, play as hard as I can, and the efficiency is something that I've kept an eye on for myself this year, is trying to be as efficient as possible while I'm in, and then trying to make that impact.
All right, man. What's next for you guys?
We got to turn our focus and show up to Vegas ready to rock. Little wordplay there, but definitely a big time for us of the year. We want to get to the big dance, and looks like we're going to need to win 3 straight in Vegas to do it. So I would say that just coming together and really leaning into each other, and knowing that we are capable of putting out great basketball on the floor for 3 games in a row, and now is as good a time as any to do so.
I did ask Mike Roberts too. I said, tell us something about, personality wise, because he said you're one of the nicest kids, and everybody seems to know that about you and assume that about you. But I said, is he funny? Like, does JT, does he think he's funny? Is he funny? Whatever. I'm curious if you're a guy that thinks you're funny, and do you tell jokes, or what kind of personality and mindset are you at in practice and around the team?
I would say I don't go around like cracking jokes every turn, but I would say that I try to lighten the mood here or there, and try to be more serious and focused during practice and stuff. But when we're just kind of hanging out as a team, trying to kind of be fun, but not try to overdo it in attempts to be funny or to generate a laugh.
It seems like you got to read the room too, because if Mike Roberts is around and wants you to focus and practice, he's probably not the best guy to sit there and try and crack jokes when he's being as intense as he can be.
Yeah, no, I mean that's kind of the idea with staying serious during practice, and kind of a way that I think to myself is everybody says, like, time and score, right?
Right.
Situational awareness. So that's kind of something that I keep in the back of my head when I'm thinking about placement with some of the jokes and stuff.
He and Wilder do a lot of the big man work.
Yes.
How has that been with both of those guys?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, they have a lot of experience coaching big guys. They both played as big guys when they played in college. So I would say that they've taught me a lot of things about the nuance of the game from the big position, and also just from a fundamental standpoint as well. I've seen a lot of development in the fundamentally in being fundamentally sound this year at a higher level.
All right, man. I'll wrap it up with this last one. I've got 2 more, and then I'm wrapping it up. If you had to give a memory right now, the memories aren't done being made this season, but if you had to give a memory of your time as a Lobo this season, what would it be? Did one thing stand out so far?
I would say the feeling of the energy in the building when we take the floor at the pit. This fan base is really passionate about UNM, about the Lobos, and it was really great in the fall to see the support that they came out with for the football team. They had a great season this year, and really we felt their impact all season long at home as well. So really just trying to enjoy that moment and understand that not every home environment in college basketball is quite like this. So just trying to take that all in and really enjoy it for what it is.
And the last one I will ask you is this. for the Lobos to make that 3 games and 3 wins in 3 days and make that big dance, they have to what?
We just have to put great basketball on the floor. We have to win 50-50 balls, just kind of make the hustle plays, you know. I would really say that just like we're capable of doing so, and we've showed that we can do it previously this season. So definitely just coming up with great focus and intention on doing what we need to do. I would say that we don't need to do anything crazy or outside the scope of what we have done this season, but we just have to be really consistent and sound in what we are doing.
Kind of get back to that, right? You guys were doing it a little while ago. Defensively, I think you guys have maybe had a bad finish to the regular season, but you guys were pretty close a few times. I mean, like you said, you're not there yet, but you guys seem to have been pretty close a couple times.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I would say that kind of like I said earlier, we've shown that we can put great basketball on the floor, but we got to come out and do it for 40 minutes to get to the next 40 minutes here in Vegas this week. So.
All right, man. Go enjoy whatever the next day or two have before you get out to Vegas. I imagine there's still some studying to do and all that kind of stuff and some practices. So enjoy that. I appreciate you for being on the podcast, man.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was great talking to you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks. All right, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with JT Rock. Certainly appreciative to him for taking the time to do that, especially the week of the Mountain West tournament. Very appreciative to UNM for taking the time to arrange that and to make that available, to make a player available for us for this podcast. And hope to do more of that content as best we can, whenever we can, here on the Talking Grammar podcast, again, sponsored by Sandia Sportsbook. Very appreciative to them for that. And some of our live shows as well. So much thanks to UNM, much thanks to JT Rock, much thanks to Mike Roberts, and much thanks to you guys for being along for the ride. These podcasts, the live shows that we do, as well as all the content on abqjournal.com, wouldn't be possible if we didn't have a passionate fan base of Lobo supporters that follow our coverage of the Lobo basketball team and look to us and appreciatively. I'm in a lucky spot to be the guy that gets to cover this team in a community that has so much passion for this team, and that demand for the content and for the coverage is why I get to travel. But it also is made possible due to things like subscribing, if you can, to local journalism. It really helps provide the resources to do the coverage that you guys like and you guys enjoy. And that is abqjournal.com/subscribe is where you can help us out by subscribing to the digital product, the print product. You can hit the like button, hit the follow button on shows like this. If you guys are listening on a podcast or if you guys are watching on YouTube, follow us, all that kind of stuff. Certainly visit our sponsor, Sandia Sportsbook. That kind of stuff helps coverage like this. So thanks for being along for the ride. Lobos got a big week ahead of them in Las Vegas. We'll see how much longer this season plays out for the Lobos. And until next time, guys, thanks for being here.